Hey everybody, it's Carrie and welcome back to another video. So if you guys don't know me, let's get the intro over with. But my name's Carri. I run Traveling Pony Studios, which is my crochet business. I run Knotty Pony Yarn, which is my yarn line that I have here. And as well, I do safety eyes, plushies, patterns, hopefully more this year. But welcome back to another video. And just as you guys know, I do actually have a crochet room. Right now we are in the Knotty Pony room, which is why you see that sign, and that's why you see the Traveling Pony sign. But we are in the Knotty Pony yarn room because I also, alongside having those two businesses, run a business where we have an equestrian facility or a horse farm that specializes in retirement and hospice horses. Right now I have a horse that needs a good deal of hands-on work and everything. And so one of those things requires coming out to the barn for, 30 minutes to an hour, hour and a half, 6 times a day, and icing feet and doing all that type of stuff. So I always figure if I'm gonna be here icing feet, might as well do some recording in the room. But don't worry guys, if you want to see a lot more crocheting, vlogs, all that type of stuff, just check out the rest of my channel. But today I'm trying to do a little bit more sit down videos for the second video of the week. And I wanted to do this video on basically what I have learned after doing my crochet business for, I guess technically this year would be a complete 3 years, I feel like. I started crocheting, I think it was either June or July. Don't quote me on that, but I started crocheting June or July, so it's always weird when you don't start at the beginning or the end of the year because yeah, I think it's 3 years. I feel like it has to be 3 years. I don't know. I can't remember guys, I think it's 3 years. But I have learned quite a few things after doing this for a little bit. And I do want to always say for anybody who is starting out crocheting, if you're a beginner, if you've been doing it for a while, before I started crocheting, I had no experience crocheting. Like nobody in my family crocheted, nobody knitted, I mean, none of that. I think the closest to textiles, if you wanted to say, was my mom used to sew, but even then it wasn't a big part of my life, and I never personally sewed. I think there was one thing I did in school when we had, was it home ed or something, some type of class when I was in 6th grade where I had to hand sew a saddle pad, and that was so bad. It was a waste of fabric. But I always try and explain to people, a lot of people when I do markets, they always ask me about how long I've been doing this. And honestly, crochet is something that I think everyone can do because it is a learned thing, but it's one of those things that I always tell people the #1 thing you have to have is patience. And I think that's where we'll start this video. One thing I have learned after doing this for so long is you have to have patience. Crochet, just simply put, takes time. There is no getting around it. If you were to go back on my channel and watch my original videos, I think I pretty much recorded when I was first starting out crocheting. Because if you go way back, even I don't watch those videos. When you go way back, I think my original videos were actually about when I was making jewelry. And that was prior to crochet. There's actually videos of me when I originally started. But the thing about my crocheting was just a little bit different. I was able to right off the bat spend a ton of time crocheting. Oh, it was so painful. I mean, I was I'm gonna do this thing and I'm gonna spend 8 hours a day crocheting, and I had never crocheted before in my life. And yeah, for a long time I was man, is crochet just supposed to be painful? Because I was also working with a lot more blanket yarn. I don't work with Burnett or any of those type of blanket yarns anymore. They're too painful for me to work with. But at the time I just spent so much, any moment, even till this day, but it's just so different now that my business has evolved and changed so much. But any moment that I was not riding horses, working in my barn, I was crocheting. And I think that's one of the reasons why I just was able to grow so quickly, so early on in my crochet journey, because pretty much I started crocheting and I want to say 2 weeks later, I started selling things. It was just like those tiny little like octos and the little like bees. Like for a long time, that's all I did was like small little octopus, small little bees, because I had a booth or a table at a farmer's market when I was doing my jewelry and everything. So I just brought like the first time a couple crochet pieces, and then the crochet sold like, I think I sold everything. So then I just started bringing more and more and more, got out of the jewelry, went full on crochet, and just haven't looked back. But one of the most important things in my business is I've learned that everything just takes time. Looking at how my business has evolved and changed so much, there's no way it would have happened when I first created my business. Like, I had to go through all of these different stages. I had to put the hours into just getting better and more comfortable with crochet, finding my own style, and that doesn't happen overnight. So for anybody who's just starting out their business who wants to crochet, think about it as a hobby that's like a long-term thing. There's definitely hobbies out there that I feel like are pretty short. Like, you can pretty much pick it up and then be good at it in a really short period of time. Crochet is one of those things that like the more time and energy you invest into it, learning new things, trying different patterns, doing more complex pieces, different yarn types, different textures, you're just gonna get better and better. There's really like no end with crochet. It reminds me a lot of when I was riding a ton. Like when you ride horses and everything, there's never an end. Like every single time you're learning something, and I feel like crochet is that exact same way. Like every single day, especially when I make like new patterns or more complex pieces, I learn something new. You know, it just takes time to learn all those things. The second thing I would say that I have learned is more is not better. When I originally started my crochet business, I was doing 2 farmers markets a week, and you can find videos on my channel way back when I was doing this, because I remember doing market recaps, but I did 2 farmers markets a week. So I had a farmers market on, it was like Monday? I think it was Monday. It was either Monday or Tuesday. I remember it was at the beginning of the week. And it was for a couple hours in the afternoon. And then Saturday, I did a farmer's market that was like 7 to 11? 6 to 11 in the summertime. But I did 2 farmer's markets a week. I did that for 4 or 5 months, I think. And then I did my first ever big event. And once I did my big event, I was like, I'm done with farmer's markets. So when I was originally starting out, I saw all these people doing tons of markets, And so I was like, man, I just need to sign up for every opportunity that was presented to me. And I did do that. The problem with that is now that I've done this for so much longer, I've done more markets, I've done more things. I've realized that more isn't better, especially on the market side of things. So many of those markets were more so disappointments because they weren't the proper markets for me to necessarily go to. And they also weren't maybe the best well advertised markets, When I was starting out, I didn't have a clue about what made a good market. I can pretty much confidently say, after doing this for so long and after doing a variety of markets, I pretty much know which markets are going to be successful for me, and I know which markets that I need to stay away from. And of course, success is totally different for each person. You know, there's some people that are totally fine with just making enough money to cover yarn money. There's people who maybe want to make a little bit more, or there's people who kind of want to set this up to have like a full-time business type of thing. As you guys know, having a barn, the whole crochet aspect is a little bit different for me. When I attend markets, they have to be worth attending is what I would say, just because there's a lot of extra expenses with having a barn. I have to find barn help to help. It's a lot more stressful to do markets, and if I have to do multiple days, that's multiple days of help. So I've gotten to the point where like I have to find the correct markets to be able to make a certain amount of money to make it worthwhile for me to pay barn help, to be away from my barn for so many hours, to then be sitting outside and be putting all these hours in outside. I definitely believe now that I've done this for so long, you actually see I have progressively every single year since starting my business cut down on markets. I feel like every year I get rid of like a couple markets. Like I definitely have gone from doing like 2 markets a month to 1 market a month. This year I'll be going to 4, 5 markets in the whole year. But the difference is I've definitely learned like my core markets that I want to do that consistently perform well, that consistently hit the numbers so I can justify going to the markets. And I'd rather just do a certain amount of markets that I know is going to be good for me, is going to serve me well, than just to be doing a ton of markets and just every other market. Like, I've definitely moved past that mindset with my business. One thing I've definitely learned since starting my crochet journey is something I wish I knew was not to compare myself to other people, especially when it comes to time. I am not a quick crocheter. Sometimes I watch people's videos or I see how much people can put out in a week and I'm just amazed because I'm not a fast crocheter. It takes me a while to crochet unless I'm using a yarn that like I'm super comfortable with and I can just like fly through it. It truly does take me a while to crochet, and I'll be talking to people and they'll be like, oh well, I charge this amount of money because it takes me like 3 hours or whatever, and I'll be sitting there like, oh my god, that same pattern takes me like 5 hours. It's just, I crochet so slow. And I remember starting out, I used to compare myself to other people all the time in regards to that, because I was like, man, I'm not able to make as much product as these other people. What's wrong? Like all this type of stuff. And now that I've been doing this longer, I just realized that you can only do so much. And honestly, I crochet less than I did before as my business has grown. And I guess we'll tie this into the next part. One thing I've learned since starting my crochet business is the more you grow as a business, and if you start to expand, whether it's doing social media, whether it's offering other services, like for me, I have always offered like the painted safety eyes pattern somewhat, and then now is going in 2026 expanding, trying to grow that side of it so I don't necessarily have to crochet or do as many markets. And then as well, of course, I have Knotty Pony yarn, which is a whole nother a whole nother business I have to run. But you know, it's one of those things that when I first started crocheting, I truly thought that it was gonna all be crochet. And now that I've been doing this, I don't crochet as much as people might think. There's so many other things that I have to prioritize now that I didn't prioritize at the beginning because it was a hobby or just something fun that I was doing, that I was like, oh, if I can make like a couple extra dollars, this would be great. But now as I've taken it more into more of a business mindset and trying to expand it that way, it's definitely changed because there's so many other factors that I have to think about. Like for me personally, I do a lot with social media. I'm trying to really commit myself to doing more long form content, but typically short form videos, I post 1 to 2 every single day. I try and do a sit down video in the morning, then I do a easier video in the afternoon that might include something like showing off the plushies that I made that day, showing off stuff. Like my afternoon videos tend to be a little bit simpler than my morning videos, but I just made a post about it today, honestly, on my threads, because I was like, it amazes me how many people don't realize how much time like social media content creation takes up. My minute long, 2 minute long videos that you guys might see in the morning, if you guys see my short form videos, they take me like 15 to 30 minutes to edit because I have to sit down, I have to record things, and then by the time I do that, then I have to transfer everything to like my editing software, and I use CapCut, and then I have to edit everything in CapCut, then I have to export it back to my phone, then I run it through TikTok first. I get the audio for the video, like background music on TikTok, and then I have to do all the volume settings. I get it all posted on TikTok, and then from TikTok, I get it posted over to YouTube. When I was first starting out, I didn't take that side of it seriously. I didn't take social media seriously. I didn't take the marketing side seriously. And now as I've done this longer, and as I've continued to want to expand this business, to grow this business, to try and give it the best opportunity to thrive, I have to do so much more of the social media side. I have to just do so much more of the marketing side. And then of course now with having Knotty Pony and everything, there's extra marketing that's just not for Traveling Pony. Now there's extra marketing for Knotty Pony, creating content for that, packing orders for that. And then of course, as you guys know, having the horse farm, it's a lot of work, but we go through these stages of times where it stays at one type of like level of work, and then it varies. Like right now, as I said, I'm spending so much more time in the barn, having to ice feet, do all this type stuff. And there's times where it's like just a nice, easy, like every single day I just spend so much time, like I know my routine. But then, you know, I've had horses in my barn that have to have nebulizer treatments. I've had horses in my barn that have been dying of cancer, and I have to do medications, antibiotics, steroids, constant treatment, like all the time. I've definitely realized as I've done this longer that I think the more you try and set up your business for success, the less time you'll find that you'll be crocheting. And I think I've come to realize that there's nothing wrong with that. I felt a lot of guilt with that originally because I can look back on my old videos, like my What's I Crocheted in a Week videos, and I see how much I accomplished, and it makes me feel like a failure when I look and see like, oh, I only was able to crochet like a couple plushies a week. I always feel bad because I'm like, I can't reach that level that I used to do. But then at the same time, I'm trying to tell myself that I can't compare myself to where I was like last year at this time, or even like 6 months ago. Like I can't compare myself to the person I was before Knotty Pony. Like like, I can't. And even like I can't compare myself to the person I was a year ago, because even just like my crochet business has changed so much, but even like my horse business has changed so much. I have truly found my niche of taking care of retired hospice or hospice horses. That part of my business has changed. Like it used to not be that way. I used to get kind of like middle-aged horses that didn't have as many problems, but now as I've really niched down to doing this one thing with my business, with my horses, you know, it's one of those things that I pretty much always take on horses that have problems. Like when somebody calls me and they tell me that they have a older horse and the horse has like all these issues, I'm like, that literally is perfect. Like as bad as it sounds, I'm like, that is perfect. Like that is exactly what I want. I can handle all of the crazy vet appointments, all that type of stuff, but it takes time. And so I can't compare or tell myself that I'm a failure because I can't produce to what I used to be able to do before I had even that. So definitely something that I've learned as I've done this longer. And that's not necessarily on like the actual crocheting part of it. That's just the mindset with the business, is that I think as you grow it, you have to be okay with the fact that you might crochet less. It just has to be okay. That's what I tell myself. I'm like, I have to be okay with this. This is how it is. We'll end this with like a more lighthearted thing. I think the thing I've learned on like the market side of things is do not kill yourself the night before a market trying to make things. I can't tell you how many times I'll get this urge 2 or 3 days before a market to just make all these like complex pieces, right? The last couple markets of 2025, I stayed up on the Friday like before the market until like midnight. If you know me, that's not good, because when I do markets, because of my barn, I have to always wake up a lot earlier. So I was staying up to these like insane amount of time trying to finish these plushies and then turning around and waking up at 4 a.m. So I'd get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep between like finishing up the plushies and then the barn. And I can't tell you how many times last year that I did that and the plushies would never sell. They just didn't sell. And then I'd be sitting there like, oh my goodness, I literally keep doing this to myself. I literally keep like killing myself over the fact that I feel like I need to get all this stuff done, and then like they don't even sell. So it's like pointless. Like I should have just slept longer so the day would be more enjoyable and I wouldn't be so tired and grouchy. But that's like a fun little thing. If you guys are doing markets, don't stress out over it. There's always going to be another market. There's always gonna be time. You don't have to like push yourself to crazy limits and do stupid things. Like whatever I do, don't do it, because I treat myself horribly. That's okay with me because I can perform in these circumstances. I'm used to this just being doing the horses and everything. Like you always kind of feel bad. Give yourself some grace. I think I've learned that. I have to give myself grace because nobody should stay up that late just to finish a plushie and then for that plushie not to sell. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I try to keep it a little bit more lighthearted, easy. And these are just some of the things I've learned since doing this. this was a lot more of a rambling video, so I apologize if you don't like rambling videos. Like I said, you can check out the rest of my channel. I have a lot of other videos and types of content on my channel, but Friday's videos are supposed to be sweet, easy things, and if you guys have anything you want to see from my Friday videos, then let me know as well, because I'll probably run out of ideas at some point because my brain is only so big and it ain't that big. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, make sure to check out Knotty Pony Yarn if you guys are interested in yarn. Read the reviews. I feel like they speak for themselves. And as well, you can head over to my Patreon to check out my safety eye tiers, or you can head over to my website to check out my normal safety eyes as well as my plushies. And I also have some of my patterns up there. I have quite a few doll patterns if you guys are interested. And I can't wait to get through my custom order because I have some crazy plushie ideas, especially with this being like the year of the horse. But right now I have to get through my customs. I'm almost there. I just have like 8 more huge items, but we're getting there one day at a time. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.